I was sitting in my pickup truck, sweat dripping down my neck, staring blankly at the crumpled receipt in my hand. $500,000. $500,000 gone to rescue a family that saw me as nothing more than a golden goose. And then, like a cruel slap to the face, I glanced at her phone. It was carelessly tossed on the passenger seat beside me, buzzing with a notification from an unknown number. Damn, I muttered, more to myself than anything. I wasn't the suspicious type, but the curiosity got the better of me. My fingers hesitated as I swiped the screen open. A message popped up. Thanks for turning him into a clown. When do we finally sign our papers? Trevor. My heart seemed to stop, a moment frozen in time. I couldn't comprehend what was happening. Selena, my Selena, the woman I'd sacrificed so much for, was she cheating on me with this Trevor? And what did signing papers even mean? The suffocating heat in the truck was nothing compared to the burning in my chest. I felt like the world toppled around me, yet everything was so painfully still. The noise of a passing car broke through the thick fog in my mind, forcing me out of the daze. I needed answers. Vivid snapshots of our life together flashed through my mind, twisted by the anguish of betrayal. The laughter at dinner parties, her tender words whispered in moments of vulnerability, the twinkling tears in her eyes when I agreed to her family's plea for help, the help that now felt like my undoing. I set the phone down with trembling hands, my mind racing with a flood of emotions. Anger, humiliation, sadness, disbelief. They warred for dominance as I tried to piece together what I'd just discovered. Had it all been a lie? Had she laughed behind my back while I was breaking my back to lift her family out of debt? The past few months had been a blur of work and worry that rarely allowed time to think beyond the burdens of bills and balance sheets. Selena had grown more distant, an unfocused gaze in her eyes when we talked, that annoying habit of her glancing at her phone mid-conversation. Just busy with the blog, she'd say with an innocent shrug that now seemed more like a mask. My grip on the steering wheel tightened. Was I just a means to an end for her? Was Trevor more than an escape? Was he a true partner in this betrayal? Questions swirled in my mind like a turbulent storm, threatening to blow through the fragile foundation of the life I thought I knew. Deep down, I felt the sickening realization that had been bubbling under the surface for some time without me knowing. There had been signs. Subtle, insidious whispers of mistrust that I had brushed aside, chalking it up to stress or paranoia. Damn, she was good. Real damn good. The rest of the day passed in a haze that now felt like the worst hangover. And through it all, the message from Trevor haunted me, taunting me like a ghost. As I sat there with Selena's lies in my hand, I could think of only one thing. No one, not her mocking family, not some skeevy banker was ever going to make a fool out of me again. I drove home in a daze, the lines on the road blurring with the tears welling in my eyes. The second I parked in the driveway, I noticed the sunlight bouncing off the immaculate windows of the house I'd poured my heart and soul into. Everything in that moment felt like a surreal play, each prop polished to a fault. A facade as pristine and intricate as the life Selena crafted. The air felt heavy as I stepped inside, the echo of the door closing behind me resonating with a finality that chilled me to the bone. I needed confirmation, something definitive to verify the vile truth that had seeped into my life. I trudged up the stairs, my shoes thudding against the mahogany in synchronized rhythm with my thundering heart. I reached the master bedroom, a place that had once been a sanctuary of love and commitment, now overshadowed by suspicion and doubt. Selena was in the shower, humming a soft tune that only seemed to highlight the irony of my plight. I seized the opportunity and rifled through her bedside drawer, my fingers methodically skimming over cosmetics and trinkets, each object a warped symbol of a life I thought I understood. Then I found it. A stack of papers tied neatly with a ribbon that seemed to smirk at me as I tugged at it. My hands quivered as I spread the sheets across the bed. Banking statements. My eyes darted over numbers and deposits that didn't add up. Names of accounts I'd never heard of, all under Selena's name. How had this gone unnoticed? Among the financial madness was a set of emails, drafts of hushed plans, covert meetings, and promises between Trevor and Selena. Each word cut through me like 1,000 tiny blades, but I forced myself to read every last line. They were planning a new life, one that excluded the burden of me and my gravitational pull towards responsibility. Just then, the water stopped running. I frantically shoved the documents back into place and slammed the drawer shut. I barely had time to process my next move when Selena emerged, wrapped in a plush white robe, still smelling of lavender, oblivious to the emotional storm raging just a few feet away. "Hey, honey, how was your day?" she asked with that practiced smile, the same one that had fooled me for years. Her eyes searched mine, but I mustered every ounce of composure, burying the raw, seething emotions burning beneath my skin. "Fine," I replied, my voice steady but hollow. "Just another day." She nodded, seemingly satisfied by my answer, yet I couldn't shake the sneer of her mother and brother as they jutted into my thoughts. Diana with her high society haughtiness and Colton's reckless entitlement. God, they must have all been in on it, conspiring with Trevor to pull me into their twisted game. I took a calming breath that did little to quench the boil inside me. I was living in a den of snakes, and it was only a matter of time before I decided which one of them I'd strike first. My mind was a tangle of strategy and vengeance, fueled by the singular desire to reclaim the dignity they thought they could strip from me. The war had just begun, and I vowed that by its end, I'd lay bare every deceit and betrayal laid upon me. As long as I walked this earth, I would never let them treat me like a pawn in their game again. This was my life, and they had just woken the dragon. The days that followed were a whirlwind of deceit and silent plans. I was a man driven by both fury and a cold, calculating need for justice. Each morning, I played the perfect husband, the loving, oblivious fool they expected me to be, while every night, I transformed my soul's agony into a meticulous blueprint for retribution. Selena remained blissfully unaware of the tempest brewing within me, continuing with her charade. Her blog posts painted the picture of a perfect marriage, a perfect life, a perfect Selena. Her followers lauded her for being an icon of modern womanhood, unaware of the sordid truth. Meanwhile, I mapped out my strategy in the quiet sanctity of my home office, a place she rarely ventured. I gathered evidence much like putting together the pieces of a vast jigsaw puzzle. Bank statements from accounts I never authorized surfaced, revealing sums that had subtly disappeared into the void of Selena and Trevor's schemes. One evening, after Selena had drifted to sleep, I slipped downstairs to decode the mysteries hidden in the folds of my financial records. I traced wires and transactions until I found it, the pattern of embezzlement disguised as necessary family expenses. Every dollar dolled up as a tuition fee or a medical emergency when, in fact, it was a ticket to freedom for Selena and her lover. I enlisted the help of a trusted accountant, Marcus, an old friend who owed me a couple of favors. We spent hours unearthing the financial skeletons Selena and Trevor had buried so meticulously. Marcus confirmed my worst fears. The accounts were a tangled web of deceit, each thread carefully crafted to ensnare me, hoping I'd brush it aside. Apart from the financial dupe, I had yet another ladder to climb. Diana's acidic laughter echoed in my mind, goading me to unveil her malice. My thoughts dwelled on Colton, the family's ne'er-do-well son, infamous for his poker addictions and extravagant lifestyle, funded by my hard-earned money. I knew if I poked the right places, their house of cards would come crashing down. My digital sleuthing marred the silence of the nights as I traversed Selena's email threads, piecing together fragments of conversations between Diana and Trevor. Plans to shroud their affair under the guise of familial support unfurled before me, whispered rumors of vast business ventures that never existed, a castle built on air. Every revelation fueled my resolve, an insidious yet intoxicating fire lighting up the path to the justice they thought they could avoid. I couldn't anticipate every move they'd make, but I knew this. When the time came, it wouldn't just be a physical blow but a demolition of their deceitful empire. At the heart of this consuming project was a quiet, omnipotent hatred for the betrayal that had consumed me from the inside. I was no longer the naive husband hanging on to fantasies of loyalty and love. I was the warrior, the executor of a sentence they brought upon themselves. The stage was set, the unsuspecting players in position, unaware that the narrative they had orchestrated would be rewritten by the very man they sought to destroy. In this act, I would be the puppeteer pulling their strings, waiting to drop the curtain in a way they'd never forget. The day of reckoning inched closer with each passing hour, and I could almost taste the anticipation on my lips. Yet, the deeper I delved into their web of manipulation, the more I discovered the dark brilliance behind their charade. Every detail mattered. Every slip of paper and email exchange began forming the arsenal I would unleash upon them. It was the morning of Selena's big launch party for her latest blog, another frivolous excuse to flaunt her faux glamour. The event was being held at the estate I had worked so tirelessly to save, now serving as the backdrop for a masquerade that mocked my very existence. She spent the morning flitting about the house, her perfume drowning the air like fog, oblivious to the battles I waged in my mind. "Will you be joining us later, Jake?" Selena called out, adjusting an over-the-top earring that dangled like betrayal itself. "I'm wrapping up a few things at work, but I wouldn't miss it," I replied with forced cheer, averting my gaze before she could glimpse the fire simmering behind my eyes. "Great! It's going to be such a hit!" she exclaimed, her enthusiasm almost palatable enough to fool someone else. The thought of her genuine excitement fueled the cold determination that had become my guide. After she left, I sat in the silent aftermath, the luxurious emptiness of our home echoing the void their deceit had left behind. I checked my watch, a battered old thing that had survived countless storms alongside me, and decided it was time to set the wheels of justice into motion. I dialed Marcus, briefing him once more on the revelations and ensuring he was prepared for what was to come. "Tonight's the night, Marcus. Make sure everything's in place." "Don't worry, Jake. I've got your back. We'll hit them where it hurts," Marcus assured. His familiar voice was a lifeline amid the chaos, fortifying my resolve. I spent the rest of the afternoon organizing the final details, microphones discreetly placed around the main party hall, the hotbed of their deceitful schemes. My arsenal was more than just financial records. It involved tangible, irrefutable proof of their infidelity and duplicity. And yet, amid the calculated plans, an unfamiliar apprehension gnawed at me. There was no going back once the train left the station, no moment to reverse the ensuing storm. But reminiscing through the haze of lies and heartache, I reassured myself of the necessity of my path. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about restoring the dignity they thought they could bury. By late afternoon, I slipped into a suit, a sharp, dark ensemble reminiscent of the old Jake, the man who still showed up for love even in the face of adversity. But this time, my mission was far from love's tender grasp. It was to confront darkness with a blazing, vindictive light. The drive to the estate was quiet, the soft hum of the engine a stark contrast to the riot in my mind. As I approached the estate, past the rows of cars lined like silent spectators, I readied myself for the final act. Infiltrating the party was effortless. I moved through the clusters of idle guests, nodding politely at faces I could barely recognize through a haze of disgust and disdain. Cameras flickered like twilight stars, capturing a moment meant to exude wealth and wonder. But hidden within those moments was everything I'd painstakingly prepared, a covert disaster poised to strike. With each sip of champagne toast and echo of a hollow laugh, the moment to ignite the blaze drew near. With my heart a roiling current and vengeance as my guide, I could only hope that when the curtain fell tonight, they would finally realize they were the architects of their own undoing. The estate was alive with the glitter of chandeliers and the murmur of forced conversations. Each room thrummed with energy, a stark contrast to the silent fury burning within me. I navigated through the crowd, my heart pounding in anticipation of the storm I was about to unleash. Every cheer, every clink of champagne glasses heightened the tension, reminding me of the 1,000 betrayals wrapped in Selena's glittering smiles. As I mingled among the guests, human obstacles in this game of deceit, I couldn't help but notice how Selena moved through the crowd, a master of pretense. She was in her element, relishing the fabrications spun around her life, soaking in the admiration her followers blindly bestowed upon her. "Jake!" Diana's voice sliced through the air like a cold wind, pulling me from my thoughts. She approached with that same patronizing smile I'd grown to despise, a matriarch in her element, too busy basking in the illusion to notice its imminent collapse. "Diana, always good to see you," I replied, my voice carefully neutral, masking the disdain boiling within. "Selena tells me you've been working tirelessly. We're ever so grateful for your dedication to the family," she cooed, her words coated with insincerity. Her eyes flitted past me, surveying the crowd as though calculating her next move in this game. "Family means everything to me," I replied, my gaze never wavering from hers. Diana flinched, a fleeting moment lost in her artful expression. The image of their betrayal was seared into my mind, fueling the fire as I scanned the room for other players in this sordid symphony. Trevor was easy to spot, his demeanor too unchecked and self-assured for a man skating on the razor edge of exposure. He mingled with other guests, flitting from conversation to conversation, hands gesturing animatedly as if licking the flames they've stoked. I edged closer towards Selena, burying every instinct that screamed to confront her right there and then. "You've really outdone yourself, love," I said as I reached her side, the endearing term tasting bitter on my tongue. She glanced at me with carefully orchestrated surprise. "Jake, you made it?" she responded, looping an arm around mine in a thrall of orchestrated warmth. Her audience observed with knowing smiles, none the wiser to the falsity of her affection. "I wouldn't miss it," I murmured, "and I wouldn't, not the confrontation, not the reckoning." With the night underway, the chatter thickened amid the haze of laughter and clinking flutes. But then, the moment arrived, a crescendo of realization and reckoning. I excused myself under the guise of an innocuous toast, slipping into the makeshift control room where Marcus was waiting with a nod of affirmation. Everything was prepared. The evidence, a meticulously crafted bombshell, poised at the edge of revelation. Marcus adjusted the settings, giving me the signal as I felt the deep, resounding thud of my heart setting the cadence for battle. In moments, the screens around the venue flickered, a looming presence as the fictional narrative took a back seat to the truth. Conversations dimmed to hushed, questioning murmurs as the video began to play. Confused guests turned their attention to the unexpected phenomenon above. First came financial statements, retracting the curtain on the embezzlement buried beneath Selena's glitzy facade. Gasps and shy chuckles reverberated through the room, morphing to whispers of disbelief as portraits of Trevor's elegant schemes followed, proof backed by bank records and clandestine exchanges. The air grew thin where Selena and Trevor stood, their faces paling as awareness dawned, the eyeline of every guest sharply honing in on them. I watched from the shadows, every muscle steeled in anticipation. The footage pulled no punches, shifting to recorded conversations, a chilling peek into the cold deliberations they had so carelessly engaged in. The gala hall pulsed with revelations, its once bright sheen fading to cold reality. No sooner had Trevor's voice drowned the room in stony silence than Selena's facade splintered, an incriminating weight so suddenly, glaringly apparent. Predathal, deceitful whispers saturated the room, lancing through the veneer of wealth and dedication they'd labored to uphold. Unwavering amidst the crescendo of scandal, I strode forth, prepared to exact the justice they brought upon themselves. As the video came to its damning conclusion, an eerie silence enveloped the room, the kind of silence that occurs when every breath is sucked out of a collective space. Mouths hung agape as every person in attendance processed the full extent of the betrayal unfolding before them. Guests started exchanging bewildered glances, murmuring to each other in hushed voices. Selena stood at the center, her face frozen in a ghastly tableau of shock, horror, and naked disbelief. The glossy veneer she had so meticulously crafted over the years shattered, leaving her exposed under the harsh light of truth. Her hand instinctively clutched at her heart, a last-ditch attempt to shield whatever dignity she thought could remain intact. "You think this is funny, Jake?" Selena spat, her voice laced with a venomous edge as she attempted to regain some semblance of control over the narrative. But even as she spoke, her confidence was eroding, her armor crumbling just as easily as her facade of perfection. "No, sweetheart, I think it's justice," I replied with a calmness that belied the storm raging beneath my skin. I stepped forward, feeling the weight of every eye in the room upon me, channeling all those months of agony, deception, and now, resolution. Trevor, once assured and charismatic, was reduced to a stuttering mess, his carefully constructed demeanor dissolving under the scrutiny of the crowd. He tried to maneuver through the throng of witnesses, seeking solace in shadows that no longer offered refuge. "You've crossed the line, Jake," he managed to utter. But even in that moment, the authority in his voice was gone, replaced by desperation. I met his gaze head-on, unwavering, the cold fury simmering just beneath the surface. "Did you really think you could get away with it, Trevor? You made a mistake, underestimating me, underestimating what I would do to protect what's mine. You and this entire tangled web of lies." As I spoke, the guests parted, allowing others to join the confrontation's center. Colton and Diana, Selena's misguided accomplices. Diana's confidence waned, her previous bravado giving way to a panicked expression as detachment became impossible. "You think you're clever, Jake? We had it all planned, years of it," Diana hissed, clinging desperately to the tatters of her ego. "I don't need to be clever, Diana. I just had to be right." I shot back, my voice heavy with the righteousness of truth. My frustration translated into calm determination as I absorbed the collective shock around me, charging the room with an electrifying tension. Her brother, Colton, had started to edge towards an exit, hoping to escape the weight of his involvement. But escape wasn't an option. I had closed all avenues, boxed them into the spectacle they unveiled for themselves. My confrontation wasn't just about unveiling the truth. It was about reclamation. Taking back my life from the grasp of these users, these orchestrators of cruelty. The crests of emotion that had lashed at my soul smoothed into resolution. A clarity that allowed me to see beyond the grief and onto the possibilities that lay ahead. "You thought I was just a tool to be used, to be discarded. But here's the irony, Selena. I never lost anything that was truly mine." The silence that followed was deafening. In that space, the weight of words struck harder than any physical blow. The implications were clear to everyone present tonight. I turned, felt a release of the tension binding me. Justice hadn't been achieved solely through revelation. It was found in the freedom I took upon myself, untethered from the lies. The house of cards they inhabited had been dismantled by their very own deceit, and now all that remained were echoes of their folly. The fallout was instantaneous, rippling through the room like shockwaves from an earthquake. Words like embezzlement, betrayal, and fraud floated through the air. Incendiary whispers carried on the winds of scandal. I stood amidst the chaos, a storm's eye of calm and unwavering resolve. It was over. My truth had been laid bare, their sins exposed for the leeches they truly were. As the reality set in, the guests began to disperse, many too scandalized to linger amongst the remnants of false grandeur. Some wore expressions of pity, others of schadenfreude, relishing in the spectacle of downfall as they strutted out of the ostentatious venue that had served as their gilded cage. Selena's face was ashen, her carefully composed mask of defiance cracking under the weight of her shattered reputation. She made a feeble attempt to gather her presence, gesturing helplessly to the thinning crowd, but the damage was irreparable. I met her gaze, and for the first time, saw the panic and realization settling into her features. This was a reckoning, one she never anticipated, a judgment she thought was reserved for others. "Jake, can we talk?" she implored, voice breaking. Yet the sincerity I once believed in was nowhere to be found. Instead, desperation and shame mingled in her eyes, the gravity of consequences she never thought she'd face. "Talk," I echoed, a mirthless chuckle escaping. "When did talking ever matter to you, Selena? Or was that just another performance, like our marriage?" I turned from her, allowing the finality of my words to sink into the hollow emptiness that now defined her existence. I had lingered too long in the shadow of her deceit, and now every footstep marked the distance I crafted from her betrayal. Marcus joined me as I stepped out of the room, his presence a grounding reminder of the support and loyalty I still had. "You did it, Jake. How do you feel?" he asked quietly, hands clasped in a gesture of solidarity. "Relieved," I replied, the word rolling off my tongue like a benediction. The burden I'd carried for so long was gone, replaced by a freedom I hadn't realized could exist amidst the ruins. This was never about revenge, not really. It was about freedom, finding my own way out of the web they tried to trap me in. We walked through the descending night, moonlight outlining the path ahead, unobstructed by the shadows that once loomed large over every decision. I knew my journey wasn't over, and the road to rebuilding lay ahead, but the shackles had been broken, the illusion dispelled. It was time to step forward, leaving behind the echoes of deceit and anchoring myself in a reality carved by my own truth. The estate, once a symbol of marital union, would now serve as a stepping stone into a future defined by authenticity. "Let's get you home," Marcus said, unlocking his car with the assurance of a friend who had seen the worst days. As I settled into the passenger seat, I took a deep breath, tasting potential and renewal amidst the bitterness of a hard-fought victory. The drive from the estate was quiet, night sounds murmuring their own stories of freedom reclaimed. I glanced at the outline of Marcus, loyal and steadfast, appreciating the constant strength he offered without expectations. "Thank you, Marcus. Truly," I said, my voice quieter than the night itself. "Anytime, Jake. We've got your back," he assured, his words a promise of solidarity. As the shadows of the estate disappeared in the rearview mirror and the road unfurled ahead, I knew this. In the darkness where their loyalty ended, my truth began. And in that truth, I found my new beginning. Days turned into weeks, and though the dust had settled around Selena's grand collapse, the path forward wasn't without its challenges. The reality of my newfound freedom was a steady presence. Yet with it came the inevitable aftershocks of emotional turmoil. I'd moved out of the estate, leaving behind its tainted memories and opulent ghosts. I found solace in the modest comfort of a small rental loft nearer to my office. It was unfurnished and spare, a blank slate, a canvas upon which I could rebuild the fragments of my life. The papers were filed. Divorce proceedings commenced with an efficiency that was as clinical as it was cathartic. Selena made several attempts to reach out, her calls and messages a relentless echo of remorse and empty promises. I chose silence, allowing my lack of response to serve as the punctuation mark at the end of our fractured story. Colton and Diana had retreated into whatever shadows remained, their reputations fraying at the seams, society's support slowly eroding under the weight of their financial improprieties and unabashed scheming. Trevor, meanwhile, faced professional ruin, his role in the scandal leading to a thorough investigation that unraveled the nexus of corruption he'd spun with Selena. Oddly enough, amidst the storm of their undoing, I found a strange semblance of peace. The world seemed less constricted, each day ripe with possibilities that had once been stifled by the need to maintain their facade. The grand treasure of this upheaval, I realized, lay not in their downfall but in my own growth. I was rediscovering passions that had long been overshadowed by the endless grind for validation and acceptance within a family that saw me simply as a commodity. During those quiet, introspective evenings in my loft, I returned to my roots. The landscaping business, my pride and joy, demanded attention and creativity, grounding me with its honest labor and revitalizing vision. I poured myself into projects, finding satisfaction in each mound of freshly turned earth, every seed planted, every client delighted by the transformation wrought by my efforts. I also found a renewed faith in relationships, building connections that were nurtured by genuineness and mutual respect. Marcus introduced me to some of his own circle, individuals who understood the true value of integrity and loyalty, many of whom offered friendship that flourished in truth, not pretense. It was during one of these friendly gatherings, a serene garden party held in the backyard of a country home, that I met Emma. Hers was a quiet beauty, defined not by grandeur but by a simple elegance. She was a sculptor, her hands capable of coaxing life from clay in a way that resonated with the creation I found in the soil. We bonded over art, nature, and the subtle power of transformation. Unlike Selena, Emma wasn't interested in appearances or status. There was an authenticity in her that drew me in, this connection a balm that soothed the raw, jagged edges left behind by betrayal. With Emma, I discovered laughter again, born not from obligation or societal expectation, but from genuine joy and shared moments. She had a maturity that silenced insecurities, instilling in me a belief that love was not just a word, but a connection built on mutual respect and understanding. Through her, through friends like Marcus, and through the revitalizing challenge of my business, I was claiming my own path. These relationships anchored me against the tide of disillusionment that threatened to pull me under. In the quiet of fresh starts, the lessons were evident. Resilience wasn't in revenge. It was in the freedom to be authentic, to forge a life that wasn't dictated by others, but crafted by one's own choices. That, above all, was the justice that stood long after the shadows of the past had faded. The crisp morning air filled the loft as the sun peeked through the urban skyline. I stood at the window with a mug of coffee in hand, reflecting on the passage of time. It was the dawn of a new chapter, one that not only emphasized recovery, but also an unyielding pursuit of joy and authenticity. The divorce had been finalized. It arrived not with fanfare, but as a quiet confirmation of a fate that had been sealed the night Selena's masquerade crumbled. A legal end to what had been, but also a reminder of the emotional journey that remained ongoing. I felt lighter, unburdened. The weight of pretense and expectation had vanished, replaced by an invigorating sense of possibility. I had chosen peace over chaos, healing over revenge. Cosmetic victories mattered little compared to the profound realization of what truly shaped happiness. The landscaping business was thriving, invigorated by my dedicated attention and newfound creativity. Projects that had once felt like obligations now blossomed into displays of artistic expression and personal achievement. My clients appreciated the change. It was as though the gardens I cultivated mirrored my resurgence, each sprout a testament to renewal. Emma's influence played a pivotal role in this transformation. Her presence injected a simple but profound joy into the mundane. When I wasn't overseeing projects, she and I explored the world, visiting art galleries, hiking trails enveloped in nature's tapestry, unfurling layers of conversation that revealed shared aspirations and dreams. She taught me to appreciate the beauty in imperfections, in the organic flow of life that couldn't be micromanaged or controlled. Her art was an extension of this philosophy, and in its creation, I found reflections of my own rediscovered passions. She would mold clay with an intuitive grace, her hands coaxing shapes that spoke of hope, of scars woven into strength, of stories waiting to be told. We spent weekends together, some in quiet companionship, others punctuated by laughter and meaningful dialogue. Our connection wasn't predicated on a need for validation but seemed to grow organically, unraveled slowly and intentionally as we learned to navigate this new terrain. Marcus remained a constant companion, a bridge between the past and present. We often met for beers at a local pub, reminiscing over shared memories while forging new ones. He had been a steadfast ally, his friendship a cornerstone I leaned upon during the uncertain times. One evening, he brought up an idea that had been percolating in the back of my mind since the dust had settled. "Jake, why not use what you've learned and help others navigate these treacheries?" he suggested. "Men going through what you did need guidance, a support system." The notion took root, and the more I pondered it, the more it resonated. I could create a foundation or support group for men ensnared by toxic relationships, offering a lifeline where isolation often clouded judgment. This venture could harness the lessons I had learned, turning adversity into a beacon for those lost in their own storms. This newfound purpose, a mission born from the ashes of betrayal, kindled a growing fire of resolve. It was no longer enough to rebuild my life. I wanted to extend a hand to those struggling to find their own footing amidst chaos. As the skies darkened and the pub filled with music and chatter, I made a promise to myself, a pledge that these efforts wouldn't be in vain. I had emerged from the shadows as a testament to resilience, and now, it was time to light the path for others who wandered in the dark. This purpose, this new direction, wasn't just about helping others. It was a reflection of the man I had become, defined not by the wounds of betrayal, but by the strength cultivated in their aftermath. With Emma, Marcus, and a community ready to embrace change, I moved forward, eager to see what the future held. The months unfolded with a rhythm that bore testament to the new life I was building, a life constructed on the unshakable foundation of truth and empowerment. With the support of Emma and Marcus, the concept of the support group transformed from a mere idea into a tangible reality. We met regularly at Marcus's office, strategizing and planning each step with meticulous care and solemn purpose. We called it Phoenix Rising, a name that captured the essence of rebirth from flames of adversity. The group aimed to be a sanctuary, a beacon for men navigating the turbulent waters of betrayal and deceit. It became a place where vulnerability wasn't seen as weakness, but as a courageous act of resilience and hope. With every new member that joined, I witnessed the profound impact of shared experience. Stories echoed off the walls of our meeting space, tales of heartbreak mingled with glimpses of hope. Each man who walked through the doors carried his own burdens. Yet piece by piece, we dismantled the isolation that often accompanied betrayal. The sense of community that flourished in those meetings was palpable. Laughter became a familiar companion as connections deepened, forged through understanding and empathy. As leader and friend, I facilitated discussions, drawing from my journey. The pain, the lessons, the solace found in authenticity. Emma's presence was a source of unwavering support. She occasionally attended sessions, offering an outside perspective that enriched our dialogues. Her insights on healing and self-discovery inspired us all, reminding us of the beauty that lay in crafting our own destinies. Meanwhile, my business prospered, interwoven with the personal growth that defined this chapter of my life. The parallel paths of personal and professional fulfillment became deeply intertwined, each success a reflection of the other's strength. Landscapes grew from seeds into vibrant testimonies of revitalization, mirroring the transformations taking place within. Selena, Diana, and Colton's lives had faded from the forefront of my thoughts, shadows of another life. Though whispers of their troubles sometimes reached my ears, gossip exchanged over social media or passed along through mutual acquaintances, they no longer held sway over me. The revelations that once loomed so large had been resolved, replaced by an undeniable clarity that emboldened my every decision. Trevor's downfall had been swift and decisive, his financial unethicalities tearing apart any semblance of credibility his position once commanded. The scandal surrounding him scarcely registered beyond confirming the instinct I had trusted, the instinct that pushed me towards justice, to reclaim my own life's narrative. It was on a quiet Saturday afternoon, during a respite beneath the boughs of oak trees, that Emma spoke of our future. "Jake, have you thought about what you want long-term?" she asked, her head resting upon my shoulder as we gazed at the interplay of sun and leaves. I paused, absorbing the tranquility of the moment, before responding. "I want to keep building a world where honesty, love, and understanding are the foundations." I stroked her hair gently, considering the weight of my words. "With you, Emma, I see a future that isn't defined by pain but by the chance to thrive." Her smile was serene, her eyes reflecting what words couldn't capture. "Then let's do just that," she whispered, cupping my face with her hands. In that touch lay a promise, a shared journey that complemented my own and expanded beyond it. With Phoenix Rising flourishing and the gardens of my business blooming, the seeds of my future were sown in the soil of reconciliation and growth. It was finally time to embrace each day not as a continuation of past turmoil, but as a testament to newfound freedom and unity. In this life, I learned that redemption wasn't a gift from others, but the result of claiming one's truth, seeing beyond betrayal and heartache, stepping into the light of one's own making. A phoenix rising from the flames. As Emma and I sat together, entwined in possibility, I knew that the best was yet to come. As the year rolled into its final season, the air crisp with the promise of change, I found myself reflecting on a journey that had transformed me in ways I never anticipated. The road from betrayal to redemption had been fraught with challenges and revelations, each step a vital piece in piecing together a life that felt authentically mine. Phoenix Rising continued to grow, its community of men finding strength in solidarity and shared stories. The group had evolved into more than just a support system. It was a lifeline, a testament to the power of community and resilience. We had organized workshops, guest speakers, and outdoor retreats designed to nurture a spirit of healing and creativity. Each initiative expanded our reach, creating ripples of hope for those navigating the murky waters of life's upheavals. In tandem, my landscaping business flourished. It had become more than just a career, each garden a testament to rebirth, a symbol of how something beautiful could emerge from chaos. I took pride in watching a client's vision come to life, each project an allegory for my own journey. The work nourished my spirit, a grounding force that reinforced the harmony I cultivated in my personal life. Emma and I continued to grow together, our relationship a steady compass guiding us through the unknown. We decided to merge our passions, delving into a joint venture that combined the aesthetics of art and nature. Our Art in Bloom initiative sought to integrate sculptural elements within landscape designs, merging Emma's artistic vision with my expertise. Our collaboration symbolized more than professional synergy. It was a testament to love born from authenticity and shared ambitions. One autumn afternoon, as leaves turned golden and the first hint of winter crept into the air, I found myself standing in a garden of my own creation, a space I'd envisioned as a sanctuary, a tribute to renewal. Emma joined me, her presence like a calming balm against the brisk wind. Together, we surveyed the garden, a tapestry of colors and textures that celebrated the wild beauty of growth. "It's beautiful, Jake," she said, slipping her hand into mine, warmth spreading from her touch. "It is," I agreed, watching the leaves dance in the gentle breeze. "It feels like a reflection of everything we've built." We both knew she wasn't referring to just the physical garden, but the living ecosystem of our intertwined lives, a narrative of love, resilience, and regeneration. The path ahead remained alive with possibility, exhilarating in its uncertainty, but guided by a foundation of unwavering truth. Later, that same evening, we welcomed friends, both new and old, into our sanctuary. Marcus, the unwavering stalwart beside me through it all, shared a knowing smile as he joined the gathering. Members of Phoenix Rising attended, their camaraderie a tapestry of redemption stories sparkling beneath the evening light. The scent of laughter and camaraderie filled the air, mingling effortlessly with the glow of dusk. It was a scene dyed in genuine warmth, unmarred by the illusions that once sought to ensnare it. Somehow, within the challenges and chaos, we'd found the unyielding core of something real. In the gentle embrace of connection and hope, surrounded by those who mattered most, the final remnants of my past dissolved into history, leaving behind clarity and peace. It was the culmination of a journey that stretched far beyond betrayal, a journey that redefined what mattered most. As the stars began to sparkle overhead, I held Emma close, whispering, "This is our story, isn't it? One of growth and finding our way together." "Yes," she replied softly, her breath merging with the cool night air as she rested against me. "It's where the real magic begins." And beneath the watching stars, in a garden flourishing with the essence of rebirth, I understood that our journey was both an ending and a beginning, an extraordinary testament to the indomitable spirit we had nurtured together, rising from the ashes to grasp the promise of a new dawn.